Over the past 6 seasons, Greg Marshall has built one of the most divisive college basketball programs in the country, at least when it comes to NCAA tournament seeding. From debates about whether or not his Wichita State Shockers were deserving of a number 1 seed after running the table in 2014 to fights over if they even belonged in the field in 2016, few topics generate as much virtual ink each year as where the Shockers should be seated come March. The oversimplified, proverbial line in the sand tends to pit those who care about who a team has beaten against those concerned with how a team has played. Unfortunately, the selection committee, hamstrung by its reliance on the RPI and quality wins, tends to fall in line with the former, a seeding death knell considering the Shockers' home for the last 6+ years was the perennially weak Missouri Valley Conference. Consider this, Wichita State is one of just 4 schools, Duke, Kansas and Louisville, to finish each of the last 6 seasons ranked in the top 20 nationally in KenPom's adjusted efficiency margin, a statistic designed to measure a team's performance based on its offensive and defensive output and adjusted for strength of schedule. Yet, its average NCAA tournament seed, 7.2, during that stretch has been over 4 seed lines lower than the Cardinals, 3.0, about 5 spots lower than the Blue Devils, 2.3, and nearly 6 slots lower than the Jayhawks, 1.5. Remove the token number 1 seed the Shockers were rewarded in 2014 and their average seed, 8.4, would earn them a spot in an opening round 8-9 game despite performing like one of the top 20 teams in the country. When it comes to March, seeding matters. Higher seeds tend to have less difficult paths to deep tournament runs as they typically face weaker competition early on, delay potential coin flip games until later, and even potentially benefit from first weekend upsets that set up favorable second weekend matchups. This is the context that makes Wichita State's move to the American Athletic Conference this season so important. The Shockers return nearly every significant rotation piece, including a formidable starting 5 of Landry Shamet, Connor Frankamp, Zach Brown, Marcus McDuffie and Shaquille Morris, from a roster that was one of just 4 teams, Kentucky, North Carolina and Villanova, to rank in the top 15 nationally in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency last season. Their offense demolished the Missouri Valley to the tune of 1.21 points per possession in 2016-17, per KenPom, and while it's fair to expect some drop-off against the tougher competition of the AAC, it's hard to pinpoint a weakness. Nearly every perimeter player is a must-guard behind the three-point arc, where the team shot 40.2% last season, and when the shots don't fall, Morris, McDuffie, Rashard Kelly and Dara Willis are there to crash the offensive glass. The Shockers are almost always going to get a shot away too. They turned the ball over on just 16.3% of their possessions last season, good for the 40th best mark in the country, per KenPom. The picture doesn't get any rosier for opponents on the other end of the floor either. Wichita State does a terrific job of denying opponents easy looks at the rim, conceding just 27.7% of total non-post-up shots around the basket last season, per Synergy. When opponents do get those shots off, they struggle to make them, averaging just 0.973 points per possession, 96th percentile. The Shockers' defense forces opposing offenses into shots away from the rim and cleans up the misses. Wichita State ranked 9th nationally in defensive rebound rate in 2016-17. If there's one potential pitfall of the Shockers' defensive style, it's that they allow a pretty significant number of three-point attempts. Last season, opponents hoisted 38.7% of their total field goal attempts from behind the arc, but converted a meager 31.1% of their chances. It's possible the length of players like Brown, McDuffie and Shamet is disruptive, but historical evidence would suggest Wichita State got a bit lucky conceding so many threes. So, if you're grasping at straws for a place where the Shockers might slip up in 2017-18, keep an eye on how well their opponents are shooting. Generally speaking, though, Wichita State should be even better this upcoming season than it was in 2016-17. Teams featuring rotations with a higher percentage of returning minutes tend to outperform the average when it comes to both offensive and defensive efficiency, while also improving at a high rate year over year. Of course, given how good the Shockers were last season, there's only so much progress they can make, but perhaps their time together will offset some of the growing pains of joining a tougher league. That said, we won't get to see Wichita State at full strength for a bit. Shamet still hasn't practiced after suffering a stress fracture in his foot, although the team is hopeful he'll be available for an exhibition game this weekend, and McDuffie, also dealing with a stress fracture, won't be back until mid-December. During the Shockers' time in the Missouri Valley, taking time to get things together during non-conference play could be disastrous given that it was their only time to generate quality wins. That's what happened with the near NCAA tournament miss in 2016. After all, when they lost 3 straight games at the Advocare Invitational without Fred VanVleet.